Hello, everyone. My name is Nate Pedigo, and this is my portfolio critique. So a little bit about me. I actually came into Barry as a business management major, but I was fortunate enough to be in Dr. Grout's BCC 100 class, and just hearing him talk about creative tech and like all the fun things that y'all got to do, the hackathons and all the fun classes. It took me 2 weeks to change my major to creative tech. And then my junior year of Barry, I started taking a lot of entrepreneurship classes and just really fell in love with that. And so I added that on as a minor, which worked really well with my creative tech classes and the things I've been pursuing while here. So the theme for my project, or for my portfolio, is creating lifestyle businesses with products and services that emphasize high fidelity UX and UI design. So what that basically means is I have had a very entrepreneurial mind since I've been at Barry, and that's kind of been fostered with all the classes I've taken. But what I've really gained from Hackberry and creative tech is being able to really elevate my UX and UI design and really think about what the customer is looking at with my business and how they would interact with the things that I'm creating. And so I've been able to really hone in on that and elevate the things that I've made. So the first project is Mons Mel. So at the ripe old age of 17, I got really into the idea of mead, honey wine, and started watching a bunch of YouTube videos on how it was made and the history of it, where it came from. It's actually the oldest fermented beverage in the world. And so with my parents' permission, I actually started brewing my own. And it started off very small. I was basically just fermenting 1-gallon jugs of different flavors or recipes. So this is actually my first ever batch here in the middle. I have just a traditional, a vanilla orange, a blueberry lemon, and a raspberry. And so I really just took a lot of time to kind of develop and expand on different flavors and formulas, and continue this passion all the way through high school and into college. Once I got to college, and was taking my entrepreneurship classes, under the advice of Dr. Inglis, I started really pursuing this and thinking about how it could actually be a business. And in doing so, I worked with several artists to create labels. I started thinking through, like, if I were like in a grocery store and like was looking through all the different wines and I wanted to like choose something to have that night, what would I actually like, what draws me to these different products? And so I honed in on kind of the organic craft side of things. My target market was people that shopped at Whole Foods and stores like that, where they have some extra income and they're looking for like a really high-end product that cares about the environment and also the ingredients inside it. So in doing that, I also kind of transitioned my business plan to partner with different charities, like the Bee Conservancy, which is a charity that helps bolster bee populations. As well as I started using local honey from an apiary near where I live. And so in doing all of that and working with Dr. Inglis, I took part in the pitch competition with this idea and actually got second place, right underneath Deagle, who was a fun guy to compete against. But so in taking second place, I was given $3,000 and then another $1,000 from the Angel Fund. And so I took that money and have continued honing this craft. I've actually been able to buy some high-end equipment, some larger brewing tanks, and now brew like 30-gallon batches at a time, which gives much better consistency because the more volume you have, the more consistent it is each time. The yeast has more room to kind of breathe and actually just helps the product in the long run. With Dr. Inglis this semester, I've also been taking her directed study and have thought through a business concepts that I'm looking to pursue later in life, which would be a communal brewing space. So I myself, as a home brewer who wants to sell my products, found that the biggest challenge in doing so is that it is really hard to get a licensed area to create your products. So if you want to actually sell alcohol, it needs to be created in an area that's licensed by the FDA. And that is an expensive and difficult thing to do. So the idea for this business is having a joint space where people can pay membership fees to brew their products in, and then it allows them to actually sell their products because it's being created in a space where it's licensed and everything's regulated. And so in that, it would be a large area with like different tanks and kind of like areas for people to work. And then there would also be a tap room where people can like come and share the different brews that are being made there. So working with Dr. Inglis, I've just created a kind of comprehensive business plan in doing so, and that's just kind of been a fun thing to think about. The next project is this acrylic bowl. So my sophomore year, I was fortunate enough to study abroad in Australia, and I attended the University of Technology in Sydney. While I was in Australia, pretty much all of the classes I was taking were design classes. And what I really wanted to do was kind of just develop and work on my actual aesthetic and like think through like how the things that I create look. This is a really great place to do that because the Australian form of teaching when it comes to design is very different from the American, or Hackberry's at least. Here, our kind of motto is fail fast, fail forward. Their motto is take a lot of time at the very beginning. So they don't actually even think about making a prototype until they really know exactly what they want to make, which has its merits as well as fail fast, fail forward, of course. But what was really interesting is we got to spend like a couple of months just drawing different shapes and designs that we liked. And that allowed us to kind of hone in on which aesthetics, which shapes and patterns we enjoyed. And so in doing so, I kind of recognized this yin-yang design that kind of like incorporates designs of like dripping or a water drop kind of flowing. And so once I kind of settled on this one pattern in design, I was able to bring it into Adobe Illustrator and create a vector file of this design, which was then cut out of a piece of black acrylic. Once it was cut out of this acrylic using a CO2 laser cutter, we spent a couple of weeks hand polishing and sanding each of our bowls to get us a really fine level of detail so that it was like completely smooth. It didn't have any edges or anything like that. And then we were able to form it over a wok using heat, so it actually hold its shape. So in the bottom left is the finished product. It was stated to us in the beginning of this class that like these products would actually be sold in an Australian shop somewhere. So for the people that stayed in Australia, like the Australians who took the next class in this, I believe that they got to kind of see how that worked out. As far as I know, this bowl either got sold somewhere or it's just in this guy's office. So it's just in Australia somewhere. The third project I'm talking about is landmark teas. So in Dr. Inglis's, again, ENT 340 class, we were tasked to create a small business that could actually sell products at the upcoming Mountain Day market. I had created a t-shirt brand in high school, actually. I just kind of had the idea for creating t-shirts that kind of like joked about like the sports culture. So we called it Hole-in-One Clothes, and all of our designs were basically like riffs on like sports themes and like just kind of making fun of the whole culture in a fun way. And that business actually did not work out. It just kind of fizzled out my freshman year. What we found is that we really kind of put the cart in front of the horse, and we did not find our customer base before we started creating products. But what it allowed me to do is very quickly create landmark tees, because I had already worked through the process of, okay, how do we find designers? How do we actually create shirts, and how do we sell them? And with landmark tees, we had a captive audience, and the Barry alumni, Barry students and family, who we believed would really enjoy these t-shirts. And so working with a designer, I was able to create 4 different designs based on Barry College landmarks. We have the reservoir, the Ford buildings, Frost Chapel, and the old mill. And so once we had these designs, I would order blanks or t-shirt blanks in bulk from bulkapparel.com. And then we would actually create the t-shirts in Hackberry using the sublimation printer. And so over the course of the last 2 years, attending almost every market and also working out a deal to sell the shirts in bulk to the shipyard, we were able to sell about $6,000 in revenue over the past 2 years. I'm also looking to, or I'm currently in talks with the shipyard to sell the designs directly to them so that they can be continued to reproduce the designs and the shirts after I'm gone. Yes. So and finally, my capstone is Sovest. So Sovest is, is a social media application specifically for investors. So this idea came to me and my best friend, Nelson Hazlett, who we went to school with. Because while we were in high school, we got really into investing, and we used a site called Wall Street Bets, which is a subreddit, to talk about different stocks and kind of see what people were talking about with stocks and get advice. Right now, Wall Street Bets is kind of unusable, in my opinion. So what happened was in January of 2021, the GameStop situation happened. So if you're not familiar, GameStop was over heavily shorted by some hedge funds. And then this one guy named Roaring Kitty on Wall Street Bets figured this out and was able to get a lot of people to invest, which drove the price very high because these hedge funds had to cover their shorts, which was a great thing for us at the time because we were actually invested in GameStop. And we were able to grow our club to over 30 members because it kind of drove a lot of hype and people wanted to kind of come in and check us out. But it did sort of ruin Wall Street Bets. And now Wall Street Bets is just filled with people wanting to recreate that GameStop magic, which kind of just comes across as a bunch of pump and dump schemes. So if you go on Reddit, you'll see a lot of people say, like, I think NVIDIA is going up, or NVIDIA is actually a bad example because they're too large, but they'll say like a penny stock is going to go up like a whole lot in like a day. And then they just try and get as many people to buy into that as possible so they can sell their own shares and then crash the stock. So my partner Nelson and I looked at each other and we said, what if this wasn't even possible? Like, what if like there was a way to immediately tell whether or not someone like knew what they were talking about and like had a good track record of like really predicting stocks, or if this was just kind of like a one-off thing, if they just like wanted to pumping up this one stock and they like didn't really care about their reputation. And so the solution that we came up with is a kind of reputation meter. So a way to actually track every single person's performance when it comes to picking stocks. And we kind of kicked the idea around for a couple of years since we were in high school. And then this past semester for my capstone, I decided to go ahead and try and build it. Thankfully for me, I had Nelson to help me with this because I am not as proficient a coder as he is. He's a computer science major in Chicago. And he was able to really help us with this. So the way Sovest works is very similar to other social media platforms. You have your own account where you can change your picture, create a bio, and make your own posts, as well as a trending page. So for any posts that are getting engagement through upvotes, you can see those there. And then on the main page, what you see is just a culmination of everything that is being posted at the time. So these are the predictions on stocks. So this one, for example, is a prediction for Apple to reach $220, which would hopefully happen by May 5th. So like I said, I was really grateful to have Nelson help me with this. While we were working on this, we started running into a lot of roadblocks. We actually were trying to create this site using Dart at the beginning, which is the language that Flutter uses. Flutter is a programming software that allows you to create code that can be transmitted to different machines like Android or iOS seamlessly. The problem is we didn't understand how to do any of that. And so we had to transition back to PHP pretty quickly. But that left us with a lot of tech debt because we were pretty behind and we had a lot to develop. And then just randomly talking to my aunt about this site, she's the creative product manager at a tech company in Nashville. She got really excited about this and wanted to help us out. And she asked if it was okay if she just took this idea to her team of engineers and just to see what they thought, if they had any advice or feedback. And said, of course, that sounds great. And then the next day, I got a screenshot of this meeting that she had with her team of coding engineers. And eventually, they ended up spending a couple of hours just kind of talking about the idea and like working through different ways to make it happen. And then this one guy named Noah Porch came on and wanted to help us as a partner. So he actually developed a lot of our backend code using JavaScript to make our reputation meter, which is linked to a stock API, actually work. And then the actual site was built on a PHP framework that I had developed in 3.99, and then we continued to develop to match the aesthetic that we were going for. So the way our site, the kind of the core mechanics of this is we have a stock prediction page. So say, for example, you wanted to say Apple is going to go to $100. what you would do is go to our stock prediction page, choose your stock here, choose whether or not it'd be bullish or bearish, put in your target price, the time frame, like when you think this prediction is going to come to pass. So like, I think it's going to get to $100 on May 10th, or I think it's going to get to $100 on May 15th. And then you, very importantly, put in your reasoning here. So this is where you put in like your research, why you think this is going to happen. Once that's in our database, we use an API to pull the price of the stock. And so we developed this algorithm, which we're still iterating on, but this is what is currently in our site, where basically you have a baseline score, and then you subtract basically the incorrectness, or like how far off dollar-wise you are from the stock. And then we have a time variable. So what we wanted to do was encourage people to have predictions that are further in the future. And so an example of how this would work is, say someone was predicting a stock is going to reach $100. So that would be right here. If the stock reaches $101, then they would end up having a positive 30.55 score increase. And so the way the scores work is it's a negative 500 to positive 500 range, which is then turned into a percentage. So if this were their only score, they would have 30.55 points for their reputation, which then they could build on. An example for if they did a poor job predicting a stock, again, it's the same prediction. They are still predicting that the stock goes to $100, and this is predicting 4 weeks out. If the stock only got to $50 instead of the $101 from before, then they would lose 19 points. So they'd be in the negatives, which would be hurting their reputation. Developing the site and working with Dr. Inglis and my partner, we were able to go to the pitch competition and actually place first. And so we have some funding. We have $10,000 from the pitch and $2,500 from the angel fund, which we were going to be looking to patent the software. So we're going to hopefully protect our IP. But we'll be launching a kind of beta in the next month or so, trying to get like feedback from people and see what we should be iterating on. We'll also be looking to be adding some new features. So one thing that we want to include is a predictive stock chart. So based on everyone's predictions on each stock, we can create a future chart of what the price could look like based on what people think it will look like. We're also looking to add what we're calling the Cramer litmus test. So Jim Cramer is a famous stock picker. He has a show called Mad Money. So what we are hopefully going to do is take his predictions and other celebrity investors' predictions and give them a score on our site, so you can kind of see how you compare to them. Yeah, and so what's next for me? In August, I'll be joining the Nashville Fellows cohort. So Nashville, or the Fellows program, is a faith-based program where you get to work with a church and continue to learn about Christianity and the faith, but also be placed in an internship by the Fellows program. And I've been talking with the director for some time and about what I want to do. And they have several connections with a couple of venture capital firms in Nashville, and we've been talking about trying to get placed in one of those. So fingers crossed, I'll be interning at one of those starting in August. And then also, of course, we'll be continuing to develop SoVest. I really want to take this as far as we can, and I want to make it a legitimate site and hopefully get it launched on the iOS and Android app stores in the coming year.